Good morning. Welcome to the OME Accelerator edition of the Old Man Energy podcast. This is where we talk to business owners, entrepreneurs, sales professionals about their life, their business, and how they got started doing what they do. Today, and you're going to forgive me, Zach, may mispronounce your last name. I believe it's Zach Loescher. Is that correct?
Close, Loescher.
Loescher, Zach Loescher. You'd think I would ask that before I started recording, but heck, we're going to leave it in there and make it more authentic. Zach is joining us today to talk about his journey. He believes in empowering individuals and helping them reclaim their lives beyond addiction by harnessing the power of entrepreneurship. And I love this. It's one of the most unique intros I've ever heard. Drawing on his 20 years of experience as a first responder and entrepreneur, along with a personal journey of recovery from alcohol addiction, he aims to inspire and guide others towards a positive, stigma-free life. Zach, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Flint. I truly appreciate it.
And from what I see here on your intake form, I understand congratulations are in order because you just recently hit a milestone. Is that correct?
I did. Sunday, 1 year. I had to think what today was. So, yeah, the 11/24/23 was my last drink.
11/20. My goodness, a year sober. That is not a small accomplishment. I don't even think you have to be somebody that has drank before to understand at least a portion of what that means. Congratulations, brother. That's huge.
Yeah. Thank you. Truly appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a journey.
Well, let's start out with that. Can you share a portion of, however you want to frame it, if you would, but can you share a portion of your journey and how you came to this recovery and combining that with entrepreneurship? Because I think all of our listeners will say that is a very unique way to overcome and maintain overcoming addiction.
Yeah, no, it's the addiction part. Like with the 20 years of being on EMT on the ambulance in Denver, back then, you coming in and your mental health was a far second, if that even. And if any of the admin found out about it, was swept under a rug. Or that's where you had to put it. So otherwise, you were pushing people behind a desk, and nobody became a first responder to sit behind a desk and push paper all day. So that's where it started, and with everything, dealing with everything, and then I think COVID, obviously, with everything that happened there and lockdowns and things, one, it made it easier to get your drink because you have it delivered. But and then you figured out how to work around it. But a lot of it, that's where it really stemmed from. But by this grace of God, I guess, I met Jen in like 2013, 14, and I moved to Michigan for her last year, and she was the one that really basically gave me the ultimatum: either the drinking or stop the drinking or lose her kind of thing. And then an officer showed up at the door to do a wellness check because of something I posted on Facebook, not one to go anymore. Which, it just happened that he also had an addiction issue that he dealt with. So, he spent 20, 30 minutes and giving me all the information. So, and then that was a Saturday morning, that Sunday afternoon, I was in rehab. But, that was kind of short there. And then, networking had always been around because in 1999 I had my son Dustin and needed extra income because everybody thinks first responders are paid greatly, and my first hourly wage was $7.25.
Oh, good Lord!
So that's where the networking came in, started there, and did that for 6-7 years. Took about 4 years off, and then in 2012 came back into the industry, and since 2017 I've been full time.
When you say full time, what do you mean? You've been full time since 2017?
Working online for myself, self-employed.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I did some solar in there, but it was using my online networking skills and Facebook ads knowledge to, instead of go door knocking, to use Facebook to my advantage.
It's funny that you said solar because the first time when I think you sent me the friend request because we have some mutual friends. First time I saw you, I thought you were a solar guy.
I was at one lifetime.
I get a lot of solar guys. Obviously, lived in Florida and do sales training and stuff like that. So I get a lot of solar guys on my news feed. But that was the first thing I thought when I saw that. Oh, wait a minute, he's Dwayne's friend. Hold on, this is different.
I think I do have a handful of solar people on my page too.
Gotcha. And that industry's kind of the punching bag right now of the sales industry for whatever reason. I know for the longest time it was roofers, and then it was just whoever the buzzword of the day was. But right now it's solar.
That,
So
yeah,
um,
they are definitely the punching bag. I mean, done right, it's an amazing product, but yeah, it's just like, roofing. I was in the roofing industry, and you got to watch out for who you have doing what.
yes, yes. So can you explain to us what in a little bit more detail what it is you do and how um your connection and your sobriety ties into helping you build that business, because you lead with that in quite a bit of your marketing material. So I'm
Mhm.
curious how those two work together. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so for the last 4 years, I've been involved with AI and AGI software implementation for mainly Facebook engagement, Facebook conversations, and lead generation. And then it's also on LinkedIn and Instagram. But obviously, Facebook being 4 point some billion people, that's the biggest market. So it's super easy for me to go in and show a business owner or an entrepreneur, how they can use maximize Facebook or LinkedIn to grow their business online. And basically, I've taken that knowledge and turned it into basically a pathway that you know people coming out of addiction, out of rehab. And when I was in rehab, the biggest thing I saw was there's a wealth of knowledge in there. There's so many smart people in there, but the stigma behind your addiction is still front and foremost when you get out. That you've been to rehab, you have an addiction problem, and a lot of people see that their $12 an hour factory job is really the only thing they can have, because factories don't really care about your background. Where if I try to come in and get a good position, not even a great position at a corporation or something like that, they pull your background check, and even though you've done your time or whatever, they're going to throw you out right away. It doesn't really matter, and that stigma is still there. So it's really taken that mindset that they already have it, they just got to change it. And I always talk about the everybody needs an addict's mindset, because as addicts, you always have that next rock or that next drink or that next fix. It doesn't matter what happens, you're going to get it. Where as entrepreneurs, that's the mindset we really need. That it doesn't matter what happens today. You need that next lead or whatnot. And that mindset that was really lost in rehab. I got fortunate because I had residual income coming in, so I had my 3 weeks I was in rehab. Every Monday I had a deposit. But the majority of people in there, once they went to rehab, they lost their job, they lost their paycheck, they lost their apartment, house, whatever they had. They lost a lot of things, and they really just had that defeated attitude or mindset. And one of the guys that really could be great. He was in there. Well, he left, I think, 5 weeks into the program, and he just said, "Forget it. I'm going back to the streets," because it was easier than staying an extra week, because he got put off. He got pushed out a week too for housing, and he literally left to go back to the streets because that was easy. And there's a lot of people in there that are brilliant, that are super smart, but the mindset after being in the rehab for, whether it's I think the shortest stay you could do with 10 days, but and it was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and basically every couple of weeks after that was the link they did. But and that was the biggest thing. I knew a lot of those people with the right guidance and the right mentorship, whether it's me or other people I know, could do brilliant things in their life. They just had to have that direction and the guidance for it.
How often there's a bunch of questions that come up with that, and thank you, because as somebody who has known folks that have done that but have never gone through that myself, I'm curious how often does that actually work, as far as going through rehab and people that come out, and such as yourself, that while you still may struggle from day to day, and I know that's part of recovery from addiction, but make that choice long term to get themselves cleaned up, to get their life put back together so that they can maintain what they have.
Yeah, and I forgot, I was going to look it up last week. The recidivism rate in with alcoholism is quite a bit. It's some of the apps I'm on, you get like your first week, your first month, your 90 days, different goals. And it says, it has a number on each one, and you see that number literally dwindle the farther you get. And especially, I think my year one, it said like 3,000 or 4,000 people hit that goal. Where in my first week, I think it was like 80,000 people. So it's pretty long, and I've read different numbers on how long people make it a year and whatnot, and it's down into the single digits. But I think and especially like with what I've found out in the system too, and being in the system, is the mental health side of it is lacking, beyond words. Like I'm literally still in a system in Michigan for mental health help that I started in April and have yet to see a therapist. Knock on wood, through our mutual friend Dwayne, he got me hooked up with Chuck, the hypnotherapist, and it's done amazing things. But other people aren't as fortunate. But hopefully we can bridge that gap or that lack that there is, and get that help to people.
That could be an entire podcast on his own. Just the lack of mental health resources in America today, and it doesn't matter. I used to think I'd struggled with some of our adopted children with getting them mental health resources that they desperately needed, and you would think children adopted into the foster care system would have more access. I thought it was isolated to that, and then the more people that I talk to, it's almost as if mental health is not treated as a real disease, except in very small circles, and so many people struggle and they're just not there. And when a therapist waiting months and months and months to see a therapist, to see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, they will self-eliminate sometimes before they can actually get in to see somebody on a solvable issue. And it's one of the most challenging things, which is where I think some hypnotherapists come into play. And I also think mentorship and coaching can help in that aspect as well. Because if we can get that human connection to stay grounded, and this is another reason I believe 12-step programs work as well as they do, because of the sponsorship. You have that human connection, somebody that can relate to you, at least until you can get the actual help that you need. I think that's very important. Do you mind sharing with us a little bit more about, you've talked about your recovery and you talked a little bit about in the midst of it, but how did this start? Because I don't think anybody sets out to go, you know what? I'm going to drink a lot every day. I want to get drunk every night. I want to deal with this, and I want to screw my life up moving forward. Nobody sets out with that as a goal. So how did it start for you? If you don't mind sharing, I think we might be able to make some other folks
definitely
realize.
Yeah, and that's and that wasn't a goal that I had on my vision board ever. But no, a lot of it was the trauma that I've seen from being on the ambulance, and our way to deal with it was, we knew the 4 bars in Denver that were open at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. and we go, relieve our stress by having drinks at the morning with the crews that were on. But then it just started there, and then it continued that over the time, and it was, one wasn't enough, two was too many for me all the time. But for myself, I never had a problem. You never see yourself as having a problem. And it was, like I said, in COVID, like you could literally order it to you, and there were bars that I don't know if truly they were essential, but they were open during COVID. And it's, it just got to that, and that was your hangout, and that was your friend circle per se. If you want to find your true friends, get sober. You'll see how many you have. But and it just went to, I planned work around, I planned Zooms around, drinking. I knew, okay, I got to run to the liquor store, and I can pick up a 12-pack before the Zoom and be ready for after the Zoom. And it just kept going that way. And it's easy to look back now and see what I did, but when I was doing it, you don't recognize it. Or I could go to Buffalo Wild Wings at noon and have a quick 4 or 5 beers and then do the Zoom later. Or our Friday Zoom, get off the morning Zoom, and I'd be at the dive bar for Burger Friday. So it really became that. That was my weekly schedule versus business being a weekly schedule. And until, like I said, like until Jen moving to Michigan and really opening my eyes, I needed the help. And phones are great because you can take pictures and video of everything you did to remember the last night you had. but it was a continual buildup of, you know, years and years of the PTSD and just, you basically you're in mindset and things that, if I have a crappy day, I'm going to go, relieve it with drinking, which, is just another negative. You know, drinking's never solved any issues ever.
True. True. So you mentioned a couple of times, Jen giving you the ultimatum, telling you, okay, you're gonna. Did you at any time think that you might have had a problem before that? You thought you had everything under control, and then she just. When after that did you realize, okay, no, this is something I need to take seriously?
Oh yeah, I'd quit for 2 or 3 days, or I think maybe the most 2 weeks at a time, and then I was okay again. And then we'd go back to what I was doing. So I tried, I don't know, a handful of times. I don't know how many technically, but there was always that, okay, I got to take a couple of days off, or, I'll take 3 days off. It was even in my DUI in '08, you figure out how to play the system. You knew if you had to test once a week, then if you tested on a Monday or Tuesday or something, then you could drink Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and be good to go by Sunday again. So, that it learned became a game, but that was some of the longest times I quit, but, there was no, Zach didn't see him having a true issue because I could quit for a few days if I wanted to, or a week, and be okay.
So what changed when she said that, aside from the fact that I'm assuming the ultimatum came with I'm not going to be around anymore, or some sort of ultimatum like that? Is that what changed, or did it take a while for your mental state to change after that?
Both. Yeah, basically that was Saturday, and I was in Common Grounds in Michigan on Sunday. Um, and obviously the officer came on Saturday morning too to talk to me. But both of them, obviously she played the biggest role in everything, and was really, the only one that truly cared to say, you need help, or forget it, we're done. But then obviously and again, by the grace of God, the officer that showed up had an issue too, and he talked about it freely with me. And he, gave me his cell phone if I needed a ride to get there, since I was, basically brand new to Michigan, had no vehicle there. And so, and then going Sunday night, talking to them, and then basically going from there. But now the mental side of it, the rehab did great for the alcohol side of it, but there was little to no focus on the mental health side of it. Given that obviously we're there for our addiction, and I think the mental health side, you could go in a million ways. So I understand why they don't really focus on per se the mental health side of it, because everybody's different there. They did a great job in the addiction side, the alcohol side, but the mental side, I mean, it took me still months after rehab to truly get rid of all the old negative habits, the lying, the cheating, and it did cause still a ton of pain and hurt to Jen, and something we're still working on. And it's my past will always be my past, but I want to go forward and show that people truly can change from addiction, and try to break that stigma as much as possible.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Can you share with us, because you said you've been full-time entrepreneur since 2017? Did I hear that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
most of us are entrepreneurs. We usually maintain two lives for a while there. We worked day job and then did our entrepreneur stuff at night. But I want to talk about from the time that you were full-time, because given these two stories and the fact that now they're distinctly intertwined in your business, tell us how it impacted your business while you were still drinking, and then what it's like now afterwards.
It's night and day. And then now it's like I said before, it's easy to look back now and see all the little things I did that Zach just thought was normal. But it was struggling to get on the Zooms, or getting on the Zooms hungover, or like from a good night of partying at 9 o'clock Zoom, I'd be like, crap. So there was a lot of lack of motivation, lack of work ethic, lack of desire. Even though I mean, in November going into rehab, basically I worked 3 weeks that month, and I was still number one on the leaderboard for most new clients. And so now looking back, going, well, if I was sober with a clean mind, waking up, I don't care if the Zoom's at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever time, there's no hangover, there's no, the only thing I need is my coffee. But the clarity's there, the drive's there, the motivation's there. It's just a complete 180 on, and now it's easy to see everything I lacked back then, even though Zach thought it was great back then. Now it's just, so much easier. Like there's such more clarity, more organization, just coming up with a crap ton of different ideas and thoughts. And, my Apple Notes is like, it would be pages and pages and pages if, they told you how many pages. But it's just so much easier now that, yeah, it just, there's no, and it's not, there's more time now. I'm not focused on like, okay, well, we're gonna have this and I'm gonna go get this drink here or this happy hour here, so it's, it's freed up a ton of my time.
That's an interesting take on that, as far as just the time aspect of it. The mental clarity was to be expected, and that makes sense. But the time aspect of it, just how much time we spend. I mean, it can be it's same. It could be the same with work, and even those of us that have drank in the past or even don't not deal with addiction. But sometimes you'll just be sitting there at a party or what have you, and all of a sudden you look up, it's 4 hours later, you don't even realize. It's like, oh my goodness, what happened? We do the same thing working as entrepreneurs. I know I'll be standing at my desk sometimes going, okay, why do my feet hurt? Well, crap, I've been here for 4 hours and it just slips by. So not being mentally clear that entire time, it can be exhausting. What's changed about what you do for fun now? Because obviously, if it took up a lot of time, the go into different places or hitting happy hour here and there. What do you guys do for fun now? How do you fill that time with other activities when you're not working?
It's just life now. It's like, while Jen and I are working on things, but it's, yeah, it's stuff that I'd never do. I'm looking at, going to symphony stuff. I'm looking at going to different art shows, just different things happening around the city that, everything I used to do when, Alcoholic Zach was there was, okay, we'll do this, but is there drinks there? Or let's go get drinks first, and then we can see make that. Or now it's like, like I went to George Strait, Chris Stapleton, Little Big Town, and it was just, went down there, didn't care about anything, walked around Ford Field because I'd never been there, and I was just laughing at the beer prices, like, what I would have spent, and planning it out beforehand would have been like, okay, we're going to tailgate and go to this bar, have this, and all these things, and now going down there in a sober life, it was just, walking around, checking the scenery out, everything out, and with no real plan, it's a plan, but just, there was no focus on, I got to do this to be able to watch the concert. And, I laughed. That was one of the first times that, I looked, and there was only like 5 or 6 photos on my phone and like a couple videos, versus when Alcoholic Zach would go do something, there'd be like 20, 30 photos and videos and everything. So I'd remember whatever I did.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Of course, the social media life has something to do with that too. We tend to take a little bit of extra photos to make sure we have some content.
Actually, I don't even think I put any up of George.
I got you. I got you. I know I've gotten in the habit now where I take pictures and record everything. If I don't, it's odd at this point, just because I may need it for B-roll footage.
Yep.
So thank you for sharing that, because we oftentimes we can get lost in defining ourselves by either what we do or what we've overcome. And I think it's important, especially for entrepreneurs out there and possibly for recovering addicts as well, to realize that there is and can be achieved some normalcy of life. And in part of what I teach is life, body, business, and mind. What's the point of being hyper successful, which a lot of us are driven to do, if you don't enjoy the fruits of that labor? And the fruits of that labor don't have to involve alcohol. It can be involving family or spending time with them, and doing those things are fun. But man, we feel bad about that sometimes. We gotta grind. I gotta work. What are we doing? So that's have you had trouble with that balance since then? Did you throw yourself back into work upon recovery, and have you had trouble balancing that out? Or, and that's not an addiction question, that's an entrepreneur question, so take it for what
Yeah.
that's worth.
Yeah, no, it's no, definitely have, coming out of rehab and things was still disconnected per se from, social media and work, and then got back into it. And, a lot of it was then I really dove back in, even though, like for business, we do social media automation stuff. So it looks like I'm on Facebook or, social media a lot. It's a lot of automation, but I was still, yeah, enthralled in or just took a deep dive into it, and had to really have to really check myself on that because I don't have an addiction that's like oh, let's go get a drink because I don't care anymore about that. But now it's like, well, we can go hang out and chill for a while now, and hopefully get back to getting back together and having family time and things and vacations and like, well, spend the time in Michigan this past week, and now I'm in Nebraska at my parents' house for Thanksgiving. A lot of that, and the drunk Zach would have probably struggled or not done it. But now it's like, oh yeah, I can go. Yesterday was what, 12.5 hour drive. So
Didn't you just finish one going back to Michigan like last week?
yeah, when Tuesday night into Wednesday, 22.5 hours.
Say, when we were scheduling this, you were driving back to Michigan, so you just want to go take a spin around the country every once in a while.
And the funny thing in all that driving, it wasn't until I hit Iowa yesterday that I actually saw sunshine.
Oh my
So
goodness! So that's a
yeah,
lot of drive. I don't envy you that. My family's out west. I make that drive as infrequently as possible because it's just it's miserable and boring.
yeah, and it's with the drinking that would never been something that happened, or it would have been a huge struggle, or I mean, I think it would never have been done, really,
Yeah.
looking back.
Well, and that, yeah, we miss out on some stuff whenever we make choices based on things other than how many times are we going to see our family again. I saw a
Yeah,
very
oh, 100%.
sobering
Yeah,
graph about that the other day. It was how long we think we have left, and it just had a timeline of years. But then it had these little marks in the second one and said, "This is how much time you actually have left to interact with that person." And that was a very sobering memento mori moment, if for lack of a better term. It was like, okay, well, I want to take advantage of as many of these as possible. So, I'm going to ask you a question about advice. So, advice that you were going to give to somebody coming on the backside, coming out of rehab, coming out of the addiction, and getting back into the workflow. And whether that's where this is an entrepreneur podcast, so I want to be directed toward entrepreneurs, but just getting back into the workflow of family and work and what have you. What would be your best advice to somebody just starting out after they've started their recovery, they're clean, and they're having to get back to normal life?
yeah. The biggest thing would be organize. Use a calendar. I blocked out family time. I blocked out workout time. Yeah, because coming out of rehab, we had a super set schedule from, I think it was like 6 a.m. till basically like 9 p.m. We were doing something. But then coming back and getting into the entrepreneur mindset, or just the mindset of going back into the workforce, it took me a couple weeks, even though I jumped on Zooms and everything once I got out, really getting back into, rebuilding my business and everything. It took me probably 2 or 3 weeks, but the calendars helped out immensely. Just because being sober now, it's like I want to do certain things and get certain things done. And it's that sensory overload. Like now I got all this time that I didn't know I didn't have time before because it involved drinking. Now I got all this time. Now it really came down to organizing things, and that was the biggest thing. But then finding the right mentors too. So that's a huge one there. Obviously, AA with your sponsor or whatnot, or just a sponsor for that side of it. But outside of that, the entrepreneur side, finding the right mentors, even the right podcast shows to listen to, the Zooms to be on. There's a wealth of knowledge now in 2024, almost 2025, that every day there's something you can jump on to learn. And just, especially for the motivation side, YouTube. I mean, I watch a ton of YouTube motivational videos when I'm working out instead of music, so I go to the video side.
I bounce back and forth between the two, but I agree. There's so much free information out there, and especially from motivation side or just mindset to keep yourself going. I'm curious, and this is a personal curiosity question. So, when did you start to see yourself differently in this process?
Um, Good question. I mean, in rehab, I felt that there was a new Zach coming. And then, like I said, the rehab part was great. Quit drinking side, that was, I'm not gonna say easy, but that just kind of happened and has been that way the whole time. But the whole mental health side, the mindset and everything, it's taken months after to really, focus on what I need for, life, family, work. But then, I'd say in the last 3, 4 months, 5 months, something like that, it really came on, yeah, 6 months, something like that. But, really truly finding my higher power in God. And then, having the workout bug again. I worked out all the time when I was drinking, probably just to, kind of keep my health or to say I did it. So it would, one good will, balance out one bad thing. But, now, the workout and, how quick you can get the changes without the drinking side of it is, I wish it would have done a long time ago.
I think that's pretty universal with anybody that does something that betters themselves. Like, man, why didn't I do this a long time ago? I feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
That
And the,
Go ahead.
the changes, yeah, I mean, I worked out all the time, strict workouts and everything like that, and really never got too far. But now, not even having, I'd say, half a strict workout, not drinking, the results are tenfold already.
That's
So
awesome. I'm not in a position to tell you that I'm proud of you, but I'm proud of you because as a human being and as another man in in our society today, to overcome something that had such a stranglehold on you and to continue to make that choice day after day against unsurmountable, because this wasn't just a decision to quit drinking. This is a decision to put your life on hold while you decided to quit drinking long term. As you described, some of these men walked away. They didn't have income. So they walked away. They had to let their house go. They lost everything on this altar of bettering themselves and overcoming this addiction. That is a decision that most people can't even fathom making. They don't even know it exists, let alone have to be put in a position where you have to decide that, okay, if I don't do this, I may very well die. And that's realistically the gravity of the situation that you made. So, speaking from that perspective, I'm impressed and I'm very proud of you to set that example, and then to get on here and be willing to talk about that to other high performers, because there's a stigma not only about drinking but about guys too. Well, I don't need any help. I'm strong enough on my own, and we all tell ourselves those
absolutely.
things. So people need to hear this, and people need to understand that we all have things that we need to work on. It may be as drastic as yours. It may be worse. It may not be as bad, but we can't compare each other's pain and each other's struggles. Our struggles are what they are. So given that, I want to talk for a minute about what you do, because I have some curiosity questions about that too. So you said you help people generate leads from social media through automations. Can you give us if you got an elevator pitch, for lack of a better term, but kind of clearly define what I know what you do, but I want you to define for the audience what you do.
Yeah, it's basically, long short is that we help entrepreneurs integrate AI and AGI software, into their Facebook and LinkedIn, because Facebook especially only shows you the 5 to 10% of your friends. So with more engagement and more conversations going on through Messenger, Facebook sees that you're being social with everybody, so it gives you a bigger reach, to expand your reach out there. So more people are going to be able to see you and see the content you post, and obviously putting your own content up there and original content is a huge help too. So we work with entrepreneurs on getting that, and most of the results start within a day or two, with new conversations coming in, and just it grows from there exponentially.
How do you find that helps grow your business? Because I get a ton of people reaching out and pitching me all the time on Facebook and social media. I've gotten to the point where I tease them back at this point. But how do you find that helps grow? What do
Yeah,
you
no,
do?
and I get that a lot. We have one software that actually, if I get a friend request, it sends them a message right away. So, and if they don't respond to it after sending a friend request, then, obviously I don't need to respond to them. But yeah, with the messages, and I get pitched all the time on different things. And it's tough because, there's people out there that won't listen to what they've asked you, you respond to, and they don't listen to it. I get hit up all the time like, oh no, well, we can get you all these leads. I'm like, well, my software does it already. Oh, well, we can do, like the last one where her VAs can give me 10 to 15 more leads a month. I'm like, well, I get that weekly, like 10 to 15 a month is nothing, like, it's not even a drop in the bucket. But but since we can really direct or dial down to your specific each market, it could be, it could be addiction, it could be weight loss, it could be travel or whatever. So you're not just, reaching out to a huge general audience of entrepreneurs. You're dialing it down into that specific niche market that you're looking for. That we, for the most part, Facebook is Facebook. Not everybody's going to, group's going to be for that group, but the majority, it'll be dialed down to your specific niche market.
Gotcha. How does it? And this question just popped into mind. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot too much. How does your software and your system help overcome the echo chamber effect, which my social media feed is almost entirely sales training, coaches training. If you were to look at my social media feed, you would think that that's all that exists in the world because it's all that I see. Yet one of my sons, his is all fitness because that's what he looks up and does all the time. My wife's is varied because of hers, but her feed looks nothing like mine. So obviously what it's showing me is not my target audience necessarily because it's more my competition than anything. So, do you guys have a way to compensate for that, or does it just organically through the connections overcome that?
A little of both. Facebook's great at using whenever you Google search a lot, and it's going to start showing you that. So that's one way to kind of overcome it, to make your Google searches specific to what you're looking for. But
Oh, that's a
yeah, as
great
far
tip.
as
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. As far as what you're seeing on Facebook and who you're seeing, really comes down to, yeah, your content. And if I'm going into a bunch of travel groups, it'll start looking at travel groups. Or if I'm going into um, you know uh, addiction groups, like I'm in a bunch of sober groups. So a lot of the things I'm seeing now, or for a day or two after that, are about addiction or sobriety and things like that. Or if I'm looking at AI groups, or on like some of the networking groups I'm in, stuff from Denver, all of a sudden I'll get a lot of Denver people. So it really has it's really based on your actions that you're doing, because everybody's worried about their phone tracking them. Facebook tracks you way more. That's where Zuck makes his money, is off of all the demographics. And that was the great thing with that was easy with solar when they had really good demographics. I went down as far as married income and you had a pool, because I know if you had a pool in Colorado, guess what? You had a high electric bill. You know, so they got rid of some of those demographics, or you have to pay a lot of money now for it. But Facebook tracks everything you're doing and is going to put you into what they think you want to see.
Remember, folks, if it's free, you are the product.
Absolutely.
So, and that was a loaded question because it's one of the things that I rail against a lot is talking about that echo chamber that social media is becoming, and trying to break that algorithm so that you can see different opinions, not even so much for business wise, just for personal wise. Because I mean, let's face it, we use our telephones for work, and I refer to social media same as you do, as work, as a business. But there's also times that we end up just scrolling through to go catch up with the people that we like to follow and what have you. So we do use it as a source of entertainment as well. And your phone is listening to you, folks, whether you believe it or not.
Oh, and it's crazy. I'll have it sitting down. We could be, doing this right now, and I'll pick it up, and all of a sudden something we said, all of a sudden it's on Facebook, or it's popping up on something.
You're going to see
It's
me more in your feed now. And we already interact online, but because we've been talking on here.
yeah, oh yeah, and it's if you pull up, I think it's funny because you pull up a Facebook ad, and all of a sudden it could be on a Ford Bronco, and all of a sudden now you're going to get a million different vehicle ads, or just different things about vehicle groups, and now Facebook's notorious for throwing up people that you should follow now. Like I'm like, this person has nothing to do with what I like. Why are you telling me to follow them? But it's
Or there,
something that I said at some point or looked at something.
there's a reason I don't follow them. Facebook, quit telling me to like their stuff.
Well, then you hit the X, and the only thing you can do is snooze them for 30 days.
Yeah, you can't even get rid of it for a long time. So, well, but that would
Yeah.
be destroying their own algorithm too. So again, people get on there and rail against Facebook all the time, but nobody's requiring them to be on there.
Yep. And I think it's funny that people complain about like, well, let's go. So Teams, had that big thing after the Super Bowl that they use all your information, but yet you're on Facebook complaining about it.
On Facebook that you gave all your information to for free just to be a member.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I agree, and entrepreneurs on my local level, it's amazing to me that the level of people that think they're two separate things and have not yet adopted Facebook, Instagram, all the social media as a way to leverage leads. They think that their work and their business is completely separate from social media. Newsflash, folks, nothing is separated anymore.
I talked to a
Integrated.
handful a week that, I don't use Facebook for business. They got 4 point some billion people on there. Why aren't you going to find, you can find 10 people that you can do business with, or 20 or 100 or 1,000, whatever. It's, yeah.
I have five right out just under 5,000 people on my page. If Facebook only shows my content to 5% of that, it still is getting in front of 250 people every
Yep.
time. What is that? I got comment coming in from Peanut Gallery here. What is that, Des? Oh, okay. She wanted me to make this point. So there's still 250 people that see that. Man, do you know how long it would take me to get through 250 people in real life? Even going to networking events that have 50 people at them, to talk to that many people would take a month.
You can go to
So
networking events that have 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, and you still won't talk to more than 50, more than
maybe
20,
maybe
probably.
maybe 20 if you're going to have genuine
Mhm.
connections, maybe 10, and that's if there's no dinner
Yep.
or drinks involved. But the point Des was making in the background, we live in the same house, yet we're shadow banned from each other. She doesn't see my content unless she goes and looks for it,
He goes, yep.
which is ridiculous
That's,
as far as that
yeah,
goes.
that's, there's people in my business that, yeah, I don't see it. And they're like, well, you don't comment on my stuff. I'm like, I don't see it. Like,
It's like, wait, I get a lot of that from my chamber members because I know I'm very active on social media, and they're like, well, you interact on everybody else's pages, but you don't comment on my stuff. It's like, it's not showing it to me. You want me to comment on it?
yep,
Go tag me in it, and I'll comment on it. But if I don't see it, I don't see it.
yeah,
So,
yeah, no, Facebook is great at picking and choosing who we get to see.
and trying, I like the fact that your business model approaches the algorithm from a totally different perspective than I've seen before, which is one reason that I've engaged with you guys as much as I have at this point, is in the fact that you guys use the actual interaction and not just the blanket, not spamming, but the blanket, okay, more media, more hashtags, more this, more that. No, let's get back to that personal one-on-one interaction in different varies to try and overcome the algorithm in that way. And from my experience, I believe it works. I'm new to it. So this is just somebody who doesn't even exactly understand how the hell it works. All I've done is what Dwayne's told me is, okay, go in and push this button and do this and that and see what happens. So that's the
Yeah,
extent of
and
my.
yeah, and it goes back to the whole know like and trust factor. As long as people know they can trust you, then there's going to be a bigger relationship, a longer relationship, and a lot of times the people that I'm getting in front of are entrepreneurs anyway. But if they don't know me, like me, and trust me, then there's not going to be a business relationship. So building that trust through the engagement, through the conversations, and if somebody messages me, I'll look at their Facebook profile before anything, and hey Flint, saw you went to Cabo. How was Cabo last week? Versus, and my biggest pet peeve and the biggest thing I truly will say I hate is people that message you and go, hey Flint, where are you from? Because I know for a fact Facebook says Detroit, Michigan, and grew up in Kearney, Nebraska.
Yes. Or
And, and
hey Flint, do you have a podcast? Do you have a personal brand? It's like, did you even look at one? Look at my banner. I mean, if you're going to try and engage with somebody, but usually those are immediately followed up with a pitch.
100%. Yeah. And
Here's where you,
my comeback on those is like, crap, did Zuck take that off my profile again? I got to go change that.
I've just gotten to the point where I send a message and say, does this actually work? Does this really
I like
engage
that one
with
too.
people?
Yeah.
I've also started pitching them back with oh, I'm sorry. I must have deleted our conversation accidentally. Which of my products were you interested in?
I like that one. I do have a message that goes out that says, are you currently a client or looking to grow your business in 2024? And so,
Well,
you know,
having that conversation at the right time, there's nothing wrong with that because ultimately we're not doing this for the practice. But don't lead with pointless questions that can be answered very easily. Otherwise, do your research, do your follow up with people, and talk to them. Like
100%.
you led with no like and trust. People don't do businesses. They don't do business with pictures at the other end. I mean, you might be able to draw some people in with tricks for scarcity and things like that, some different sales tricks, and you'll probably get some, but you won't get your high end clients. You won't get your long term recurring clients. But you know what? You get on there and you start a conversation about how much he and his wife enjoyed their cruise to the Caribbean and what how do they like their dog, or is their kid playing ball, are they winning? You start having those conversations with people and you genuinely care about it, that comes across. And I've even gotten into conversations with people where they followed up with me after. They said, why did you reach out to me in the first place? Oh, yeah, well, yeah, I wanted to talk to you about this, but we got talking about your
Mm-hmm.
kiddos or whatever. So if you were going to give some advice, and we've been talking for almost an hour already, this went by quick. If you were going to give some advice to the audience out there on ways to engender and build that trust quickly with people online, what would your advice be? What would your top three things be?
I think, you said it, research. Like, if I'm going to send somebody a message, I want to know what they're doing. So my message is, well, one, so I know that we're going to connect and have something similar. But, like you said, that genuine conversation, you know, if you don't have the like and trust factor of that relationship, you're not going to have business down the road. So why skip, first base to go to second base? But, you just get to know them. That's the biggest thing. And I think that's what social media really put a damper on for all of us. One of my messages is from, can't believe we went from flip books to AI and automation. Unfortunately, automation, AI and automation did take a lot of that personality out of there. And then, we're all on Facebook, don't send a message, hit the little microphone and record, talk to them. That's my biggest thing is, if somebody sends me a message, that I want to respond to them, not the, hey, where are you from? But I'm going to follow it up with a voice message back to them because, again, it's just going back to the no like and trust factor that I'm a real person behind the computer. And, if people are like me, I can talk way better than I can type up a message and I have to delete the word 5 times because I misspell it. So, be the real human behind the computer. You can still be a real human, use the voice, like on LinkedIn, we're using video software. So, it's just going to be like this, you send me a message, I'm going to send you a video back of me talking to you. So I think the biggest thing is create that personal connection. Um, that's what's that's what's lacking in a lot of it. And you know, don't jump right into bed with the person. You never, if you're married or have a relationship, it never went to the bed first. Most likely, 99% of the time, I think. But everything boils back down to not, no matter how much or listen to. You got to have that personal connection with them. That's the biggest thing, and that's a lot of what I lost during the addiction is because I figured I'll just type somebody nobody will know then. And obviously, with the addiction, if I sent you a voice message, that's probably not a good idea.
I didn't even think about that, but that makes sense.
And so, but I think the biggest thing I try to tell everybody, yeah, just be that human behind it. Like Facebook gives you the option to talk to somebody, talk to them. Just hit the little record or what is a microphone button. That came, years ago from Grant Cardone, his one of his reps, Ryan, sent me a personal video and text message. I'm like, son of a gun. It hit home different because it wasn't a text message. It was a video. It was real. It was to me. Um, you know, and so that's where I kind of took that from and use either video on LinkedIn now or, voice on Facebook kind of thing. But if you want to set yourself apart, do that. Very few people do that.
Really, they don't. I got some from First Form, from Frisella's team, and man, I was just blown away. I'm like, what the heck? This guy's sending me a generic voice message. What's going on? And I open it up. It's a video, and he's talking to me. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, wait a minute. This is a little different. And so that does make you, and folks, this is the way he communicates. This is the way we talk. I was voice to typing him, and he was responding in voice messages as he was driving back and forth when we were setting this interview up. So we really do live this. I tend to type everything. I don't know why. I still talk to it. I use the voice transcription on my phone all the time. I think it's just habit at this point, which I probably need to change so people could hear my voice talking to them. But I appreciate that. Now, is there? We're about out of time here, so shameless plug. Anything you want? Website you want to plug? Plug your business. What is it you want people to know and remember about you?
Yeah, no, if you all, just want to talk about addiction or inactive addiction or know somebody that is, or, you want to grow your business, I'm open 24/7 most of the time. Not really, but I'm around all day lot. So yeah, now go to soberpreneur.life. That talks about both of them. And, yeah, I'm an open book. If somebody has questions, go ahead and ask it. Because life has definitely not been perfect. Post rehab has definitely not been perfect. It's a learning curve every single day. I just look forward to getting to midnight, and then the next day starts over, and it's a new beginning for the next 24 hours. But it's definitely a struggle, and with the right circle of friends around you and circle of mentors and leaders around you, you can definitely do it.
Hey, thank you, Zach, very much. Hey, if you're not already liked and subscribed to the Old Man Energy podcast and both of us on social media, check out the links below. Make sure that you smash that bell on the YouTube button. I like the word smash that bell, so I say that as often as possible. That way you're
Smash it.
notified whenever we post new episodes, new shorts, whatever it is. New content daily on all the different platforms. And a lot of times there's unique content depending on what either one of us happens to be doing. Make sure that you join not only his social media and check out his website, but also make sure that you look at all the freebies coming up. I know that if you're watching this before the holiday season is over, we got some Black Friday deals we're going to be running on my courses along with my books. And if you are interested in learning to be a better networker, you can snag Beyond the Handshake for 33% off for the next couple of weeks. You'll find that link down below. That's my latest book. Until next time on Old Man Energy and the OME Accelerator, love y'all. Peace.